The movie begins with an ancient tale about a city consumed by fear and terror. The source of this fear is a massive dragon that periodically descends upon the city, wreaking havoc in search of a virgin girl to take to its lair. Upon discovering the dragon's intention, the townspeople devised a ritual to appease it. Every year, during the same time, they would dress all the virgin girls in white, place them on small boats in a lake, and allow the dragon to choose one before leaving, without harming anyone else. One year, a brave knight deeply in love with one of the chosen girls was devastated when she was sacrificed to the dragon. Swearing vengeance, he embarked on a perilous journey across forests and oceans to reach the dragon's lair. Determined to reclaim his beloved, he ultimately succeeded in slaying the beast. From that day forward, the knight was revered by the town and given the title Dragon Slayer. The city thrived in peace for many years after the dragon's death. However, on the anniversary of the dragon's demise, Igor, the grandson of the famed dragon slayer, was preparing to marry the duke's daughter, Myra. The celebration was grand, and Myra dressed for the occasion. As part of a traditional tribute, Igor led Myra onto the lake in the old-fashioned way, while soldiers sang the dragon's song in honor of the legendary slayer. Everyone rejoiced until disaster struck. The candles extinguished, the sky darkened, and the fierce storm erupted. Suddenly, the dragon reappeared, snatching Myra away. Igor desperately tried to save her, pulling the rope, but he failed. Myra lost consciousness as the dragon carried her away to its lair. When she awoke, she found herself trapped in a deep pit. A mysterious voice called out to her, offering a mixture of herbs to treat her wounds. The stranger revealed he was also imprisoned by the dragon. Though Myra was surprised, he was an extraordinarily handsome young man, hardly resembling a captive. Taking the herbs, she treated her wounds, while he watched, enchanted by her beauty. Myra became upset at his gaze, demanding he look away. He casually responded that he sees birds, fish, and everything else without clothing. So why would this be different? His strange nature puzzled her. She asked his name, but he replied that he had forgotten it, since he hadn't used it in a long time. Myra was baffled. How could someone forget their name? He explained that it happens when there's no need for it. Curious, she asked why he had never attempted to escape. He told her that the island was extremely dangerous. The dragon could hear any movement, and even if he managed to leave, he wouldn't survive crossing the treacherous sea. That's why he chose to remain in the pit. Myra, frustrated, asked if there was any chance of escape, and he told her only hope was for her beloved to come and kill the dragon himself. Unimpressed, Myra called him a coward for staying imprisoned instead of trying to escape. They argued fiercely, and Myra blocked the pit entrance he used to communicate with her. Determined to free herself, she cut her hair to use as a rope for climbing out. Later, he apologized for offending her. They reconciled, and Myra decided to give him a name, Almond. He asked why she chose Almond, and she told him it suited him, strange and mysterious, just like him. Myra reopened the pit and told him to shake her hand, as he now had a name. As Almond reached for her hand, he suddenly grabbed it tightly. The dragon reappeared and attacked Almond's pit, intending to kill him. Myra cried out in fear, but Almond urged her to stay inside, insisting the dragon couldn't enter. Then, silence fell. Almond was gone. The dragon loomed over Myra's pit, attempting to break through, but its massive size prevented it. In despair, Myra sobbed for Almond and smashed the pit's entrance to reach him. When she emerged, she found herself in a strange landscape. Everything around her was burnt. She pressed on, but suddenly came face to face with the dragon. She tried to escape, but the dragon wasn't intent on letting her go alive. It was accompanied by a smaller creature that also chased her. Myra ran frantically until she found herself standing atop a towering cliff, shaped like a dragon's head. Suddenly, Almond reappeared to rescue her. Overjoyed that he was still alive, Myra rushed to him but noticed the small creature accompanying him. She recoiled in fear, realizing something was wrong. Overwhelmed, she backed away until she stumbled and fell from the cliff's edge. Almond leapt after her to save her, but she distrusted him and struggled to push him away, yet he refused to let go. Suddenly, Almond's entire form shifts. He transforms into a dragon and catches Myra just before she hits the ground. However, the fall takes a toll on him, Leaving him exhausted and unable to move, Myra quickly rises and attempts to flee before he regains his strength. She calls out for help, hoping someone might rescue her, but she remains alone on the deserted island. Meanwhile, Igor has assembled a search party of sailors. Determined to find Myra, he follows his grandfather's ancient map, hoping it will lead him to the dragon's lair. However, when he reaches the marked location, he finds himself surrounded by open water. There is no trace of the island. Back on the island, Myra continues to seek help until she suddenly finds Armand returning to his human form. Panicked, she grabs a large rock, ready to strike before he wakes up again. But as she stands over him, her heart falters. She can't bring herself to do it. Deciding to leave him behind, she reasons that he will drown on his own. However, Armand's small companion, his loyal creature, pleads for Myra to help him. Seeing his helpless state, compassion sways her. She wraps Armand in a heavy coat to shield him from the cold, and together, she and the creature drag him to safety, pulling him up to the lair atop the island. Once they reach the top, Armand begins muttering strange words, repeating that he must rid the world of the dragon's evil. Concerned, Myra tries to bind his hands, but in doing so, she accidentally touches his skin. The moment their skin meets, his entire demeanor shifts, his features begin changing once again. Terrified, Myra flees, desperately calling for help, but the island remains desolate. Spotting pieces of wood along the shore, she attempts to build a raft to escape. However, the skies darken, rain pours, and a violent storm erupts, turning the sea into a deadly force. Frightened, she abandons her escape plan and retreats to the lair. Despite Armand's monstrous nature, his presence strangely brings her comfort, and she soon drifts off to sleep. The next morning, Myra wakes to find that Armand has prepared food and tidied up the lair. Stepping outside, she sees him fishing, sharing his meal with his small companion. She tries to speak with him, but he remains silent, visibly troubled. Sensing his frustration, she asks why he resents humans so deeply. In response, Armand recounts his tragic past, the story of the Dragon Slayer. He reveals that when he was young, he lived peacefully with his father and ancestors. One day, he came of age and was expected to fully embrace his dragon heritage. His father began training him, but Armand felt different. He rejected the violent ways of his kin. Though he deeply loved and admired his father, he refused to follow in his footsteps by abducting and killing young women. Then, one fateful day, his father stood atop the island's peak. At that moment, an unknown man invaded the island and shot his father in the back with an arrow, killing him instantly. From that day, Armand harbored a deep hatred for humans, vowing revenge especially against the one who had slain his father. Yet, despite his fury, he struggled to control his rage for years. To prevent his transformation, he confined himself to a pit, avoiding the ancient ritual song that triggered his dragon form. However, one day, he was far from his safe refuge, and humans sang the cursed song. He lost control, transformed, and attacked, abducting a girl. But instead of killing her like his ancestors had, he cast her into a narrow pit, ensuring she was safe from his wrath. He then tells Myra that the pit where she was kept wasn't a prison for her, it was his safeguard against himself. Myra asks how she can return home. Armand tells her the only way is for her beloved to come for her and take her back himself. He then takes her on a tour of the island, revealing its magical concealment. It remains hidden from humans. Only someone with pure, genuine love for the one they seek can ever find it. Moved by his words, Myra plucks a flower and tosses it into the sea, silently wishing for Igor to find her and take her home. Armand notices her actions and grows distressed. He has grown fond of her, and the thought of her leaving unsettles him. Disheartened, he walks away, but soon collapses from his injuries. Myra rushes to his side, offering aid, and reassures him that she still has time to spend with him before Igor comes. Armand relaxes, comforted by her words. They return to the lair, where Myra begins teaching Armand how to live like a human. They find joy in their time together. Armand, for the first time, feels genuine happiness in Myra's presence. He teaches her how to read the wind's direction like dragons do, scattering petals into the air so she can follow their flow. She is delighted, feeling alive in a way she never has before. Later that night, Myra gives Armand a musical instrument with a beautiful sound. telling him to consider it a birthday present today. He has been reborn as a new man. Overjoyed, Armand takes her to see a phenomenon he cherishes, what he calls the sky flowers. Myra is mesmerized by the breathtaking sight. She gently holds Armand's hand, and as time passes, their connection deepens. That night, Myra falls asleep, but is suddenly awakened by the sting of a fiery ember landing on her face. Alarmed, she rushes to check on Armand, calling out for him, yet he doesn't answer. Suddenly, Armand appears before Myra, fully transformed into a dragon, attempting to harm her in his uncontrolled state. Terrified, Myra cries out, pleading with him to wake up, but she soon realizes it was all a nightmare. Her deep fear of dragons had seeped into her dreams. Armand rushes to her side upon hearing her cries. Once he understands what happened, he gently reassures her, promising that he would never hurt her, no matter what. Feeling comforted, Myra closes her eyes again and drifts back to sleep. As she rests, Armand softly plays soothing music beside her until she falls into deep slumber. The next day, Myra awakens and begins crafting a dragon-shaped kite, hoping to fly it with Armand. Meanwhile, Armand recalls her words about how offering flowers is a symbol of love. Inspired, he gathers a bouquet, intending to present it to her as a confession of his feelings. However, just as he reaches for the flowers, his body begins to change again. The heat radiating from his hands burns the petals to ash before his transformation overtakes him. Myra appears and shows him the kite she built. The sight calms Armand, grounding him and bringing him back to his human form. He tells Myra that Igor has taken too long to find her. Myra replies that Igor's failure means he never truly loved her. If his love had been sincere, he would have found the island. She then adds that someone else reached the island before Igor did, hinting that Armand had come to her out of genuine love. Armand is overjoyed that Myra recognizes his feelings. Together, they fly the kite, and Armand teaches Myra how to read the wind and control its movement. But amid their joy, Myra's hand accidentally brushes against his, triggering the dragon's instincts once more. The kite's rope snaps, and when Myra turns around, Armand is gone. He has run to the narrow pit where he confines himself whenever the dragon side threatens to take over. He fights against the transformation, blowing the whistle Myra had given him to resist the change. Eventually, he regains control. As he returns to Myra, he notices a small boat tucked away, stocked with food, water, and a map. His heart sinks. Myra had been preparing to escape. Anger wells up in him, and he confronts Myra, leading her into the lair. He shows her the ceremonial altar and reveals the dark truth every girl brought to the island had been placed upon that altar, burned, and from their ashes, a newborn was created. That was the fate intended for Myra as well. Shocked, Myra struggles to understand his sudden shift in behavior. Armand reveals that he saw the boat she had prepared and realized she had been using him the whole time, learning how to read wind just so she could escape. His voice tightens as he tells her to leave the island the next morning, just as she had planned. Myra tries to explain that she only wanted to be prepared in case the dragon attacked, but Armand refuses to listen. Anger clouds his thoughts, fueling his transformation. The next morning, Myra finishes readying her boat and departs the island. Meanwhile, Igor and his team are still searching the ocean, hoping to find her. As she finally emerges from the concealed island, she spots them. They bring her home. Back in her hometown, Myra recounts everything to her sister, who urges her to follow her heart. Her sister tells her to stay away from Igor, as he doesn't truly love her. He only wants to marry her to become royalty. However, Myra is afraid of disappointing her father, so she tries to continue with Igor. The wedding preparations resume, but this time they omit the ritual sun, ensuring the dragon would not return. At the same time, Armand is devastated over losing Myra. His sorrow consumes him, leading him to make a final decision. He climbs to the peak of the mountain, intending to throw himself off. He blows Myra's whistle to prevent his transformation, hoping to end everything. Back in the town, Myra stands in front of Igor at the wedding ceremony, but suddenly she removes the rope he's pulling her with. She turns to the crowd and declares that she does not love Igor, she loves Armand. Everyone is stunned. No one understands what is happening. Then, She begins to sing the dragon's song. Armand hears her voice. Before he can fall, he transforms into his dragon form and flies to the town. He snatches Myra from the crowd and takes her back to his lair. Once there, he throws her onto the ceremonial altar, ready to ignite the flames. But before he can do anything, she stops him. She speaks to him, telling him that she truly loves him and has never loved anyone else. Armand is confused, barely conscious of his thoughts. Myra assures him that she wants to be with him, no matter what happens. Gradually, Armand calms. The wildness in his eyes fades. Gently, he rests his head against her, finally granting her his trust. Years pass. Armand and Myra live together on the island, their love flourishing. They even have a beautiful daughter, a child who resembles her mother. And so, the movie ends. If you've made it this far, don't forget to drop a dragon emoji in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. Goodbye.